didn't even realize until very recently, because I used to have this pattern, this cycle where I'd get really busy, and it usually happened around once a year. I'd get really, really busy. I'd have clients and opportunities open up and things, just get really busy. And then I made a shitload of money, and I'd literally have so much money, I'd have it stashed around everywhere in my house, my bank account, my PayPal account, all of it was, like really building up. And then it'd stop. And then I'd have enough money to pay my rent, for the year. I pay my rent in advance for the year. And then suddenly it would dry up, and then I'd be on the bones of my ass for the rest of the year. And I was like, what the hell? What's this about? My program was, if something bad's going to happen when things are going good.
Welcome to Yummy Mummy Podcast with Lisa Jane, where I show you how to be a parent, partner, and lover in modern society while staying true to yourself. As I was driving back home after drop-off, I was just thinking about my life and about my cycles, my patterns of when I'm going towards abundance and my podcasts are consistent, my content's consistent, I'm putting up posts and in my Insta stories and Facebook stories, and my house is organized and things are going really well. Even money is coming in. And then all of a sudden I get an email or I get news, and then I start to spiral down. And when I was driving, I was thinking about all the times this has happened, and it is a cycle because I don't catch myself. I just keep falling into it and then having to find solutions. And then once I do, I rise above it. But it was today in the car where I really realized that I'm no longer a victim, but I do spiral down into that behavior. I don't find faults or point fingers anymore like I used to, but I definitely fall into this feeling. I don't even know how to explain it. It's sort of just like, I don't like this feeling. And then I stay there for a while. So then I start to draw in. Yeah. People on social media might not realize this. They might not see this. Yeah. But then after a week or so of not hearing from me, all of a sudden, oh, there she is again. And then I get back into being on track. So this is something that I know other people experience. And I think also because I'm a single mom, still working out the parenting plan. And most of the time, yes, the emails that come through is about the parenting plan, trying to, find balance with everything. And that's what I'd love to talk to you today about is how would I be able to get past this? Because I definitely understand now that I do have put limits on my beliefs, because as soon as I know things are doing really well, something within me, I don't know what it is. I'm hoping you can explain it today. Yeah, it's a great I'm doing it to myself. A little bit about that. Yeah, let's do it. Let's start talking about this. Where do we start when we start talking about limiting beliefs?
Well, I would share your story, share exactly what you just shared with me. That's amazing. I mean, I think that's what people relate to, and they would go, oh, fuck yeah, that's so me. I can totally relate to that.
And I've been doing that online recently, just the last week I've been doing it. But when I open up, at the start it's okay. And it's great getting the likes and the comments. But then all of a sudden, someone may not read or comprehend what it is that I'm putting out there, the message. And they go and contact me privately. I follow what they're saying because I can see that they're trying to help me in my business. But then I realize this is not about me. It's about them. For example, I did have someone that... Go on.
Yeah, no, I just said always. No, you're right. It's about them, not about you. Yeah.
Yes. And so I have found that I have to really keep focused on my values, my purpose, and remind myself, how is this opportunity serving my calling? And that's recently I found out that what they were offering me wasn't serving me at all. It was actually helping them referring me onto something, and they probably get a commission out of it. And I'm pretty happy that I
so often good for you for realizing that.
Yes.
And also there's not everyone's going to agree with what you're talking about, so just when you share your story, you only want those people who are relating to what you're talking about anyway, because it makes your life 10 times easier. So when you have that message, and that's the message they get, they're going to contact you. They're the people you want to be working with because they totally get you. These people who are like, oh yeah, look, I'm not sure about that. And have you thought about this? And have you looked at it? Don't worry about that. That's not, your message. You know what you're about. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when I do my podcast, I always like to start with a little bit about myself and then just dive straight into it. And that's what we're doing now. We're actually going ahead with it. This will be part of the episode that we're going to be talking about how to,
nice.
I don't know the headline just yet. We'll work it out as we're talking, but definitely I'd like to break the cycle when it comes to becoming abundant with money. That's the big one of all. That's where my limits are.
How to break my negative abundance cycle.
Yes, let's do that. So the first step is tell your story, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What's the next step now, Dean?
So then you can ask me, I guess you would ask me why, what's my reflection on that, I guess. And my reflection on, so what you just spoke about is, it's these recurring patterns and cycles that we have in our life. And the recurring patterns and cycles aren't necessarily in our best interest. And, even though we know it's not the best place for us to be, we still allow ourselves to spiral down there, and still head down that path. And it's also because your subconscious is trying to protect us all the time. It's trying to protect whatever trauma that we have inside. So it doesn't always serve us, but it's trying to protect us. So if we've experienced some trauma, then, and it doesn't have to be real trauma. It can be associated trauma, imagined trauma. It can be somebody else's trauma or something you've seen in a movie. Then your subconscious doesn't want you to go through that pain again. So it'll try and protect you from going through that. So even if you have a fear around success, if you see successful people and you have a belief that, oh my God, success takes hard work. Success means that you don't get to have freedom. Success means that you lose people in your life. Success means that you're judged by everybody else, Then if you have that, any one of those programs, then your subconscious is going to try and protect you from that because it doesn't want you at a feeling level, at an acceptance and an emotional level. It doesn't want you to go through that. So it'll sabotage anything it can to try and protect you. So there's a couple of things that we do. Like one is, and it can be any program, any block. So for me, I didn't even realize until very recently, because I used to have this pattern, this cycle where I'd get really busy, and it usually happened around once a year. I'd get really, really busy. I'd have clients and opportunities open up and things, just get really busy. And then I made a shitload of money, and I'd literally have so much money, I'd have it stashed around everywhere in my house, my bank account, my PayPal account, all of it was, really building up. And then it'd stop. And then I'd have enough money to pay my rent, for the year. I pay my rent in advance for the year. And then suddenly it would dry up, and then I'd be on the bones of my ass for the rest of the year. And I was like, what the hell? What's this about, And then recently I worked out that, because of my abusive background when I was a child, I realized that when we were being like the physical abuse and the violence and all that, when it was happening, it was okay. Like I could handle that, because it was happening and it was real in the moment. But it was when it wasn't happening, like in the good times and the joyful times when Dad was, happy and fine and everyone was having a good time, that I never allowed myself to enjoy that because I didn't know when it was going to change, when it was going to flip, because it would just flip at the drop of a hat. So I never ever allowed myself to experience happiness. And my program was, if something bad's going to happen when things are going good, so I didn't actually allow myself to experience the real happy, real joy in life. So I always waited for that. Okay, here it comes, here it comes. So my self-fulfilling prophecy was good times don't last. So abundance doesn't last. So I had that going on.
I can relate to that because it was similar in the sense of what I'd gone through in my previous marriage, which I have been talking about it now, about the domestic violence. It was happening as a child as well. However, when it comes to money, I can see it through my parents that there was an abundance, and then they'd sell a business and then the money would go, and then they get another business and again abundance. And I can definitely see that that things happen. And yes, I'm self-sabotaging. Okay, all right, yeah, I acknowledge that's what I'm doing because it is. But the happiness doesn't like. How do I put it? I don't even recognize the happiness. Does that make sense? Like when everything's going really well, I don't actually stop and go, oh, thank you. I recognize this. This feels great. And live through it. It's more as soon as something happens that spirals me down, I go, oh, that didn't last. That happiness didn't last.
Yeah. So without actually realizing that and that's a really, I actually just got off a call with a guy this morning who, he realized, in the same time, happiness is a choice. You can choose, because he realized he'd been wallowing and his whole outlook was always down and negative and, life is so hard and they don't like me and they don't like, and he was just wallowing in that. And happiness is a choice. You can choose every single day if you want to be happy every single moment. How do I want to choose to see this? I can either see it in a happy way or in a negative way. So it's that choice, but it's also, stopping, and this is why gratitude, you hear all the time gratitude is a key, but it really, really is, like the more I stop and acknowledge every single day, as many times as I can throughout the day, what I'm grateful for, even if, I got to remind myself when I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad day in paradise. So I'm pretty blessed. People would kill for my bad day. People go on holiday. They save up all their money. They take time off work to go on holiday to have my bad day. So, it's not so bad. I got to remind myself that. Because it's so easy to get caught up in the other stuff. Yeah.
Well, every time I see you on Facebook, you're always shirtless, and I have to keep reminding myself you're in a bud, and the weather there is different here. In Melbourne, last conversation we had, I was all rugged up with a scarf, and
yeah,
I'm looking at you, I was
like an Eskimo.
That made me cold seeing. I'm like,
yeah, it reminded me of, again, like how beautiful it is just to be in this climate, where, I could complain that it's hot and I'm sweating and it's humid, or I could just go, wow, I love not being cold, I love that I get to be in this climate where I can be shirtless and just wear shorts all day if I want,
Yeah. Well,
so it's that choosing to be happy.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to choose to be happy. It's starting right this moment. I'm making it official for the world to hear. In my moments, I've got to remind myself that. Yeah, I've got to.
Yeah, and there's a disclaimer with that. Yeah, so it doesn't mean that you'll never be sad. It doesn't mean you're always going to be happy. So it means that even while I'm experiencing, some heartache and some loneliness and some pain, I can still choose to be happy in that moment. So now, like when I get, if I get heartbroken, I broke up with a girlfriend recently, and it was a really challenging time, and lots of tears and lots of sadness and loneliness and grief, but it was in that I was also super grateful that I got to come back to myself, that I really got to feel me and be with me. So I could still choose happiness in that, and also happiness that I got to experience something so beautiful with somebody, that I had somebody to miss and to cry over. And, a lot of people don't get that in life, so it's just reframing that. So it doesn't mean that I'm trying to be happy, because if you try to be happy all the time, like the happier you try to be, the sadder you'll become, because the universe will try and balance you out all the time. So it's embracing both, embracing the whole. The sum of two halves makes a wholesome experience. And then choosing still to be grateful and still to be happy with that, And the other thing is we tend to do, like life has these highs and these lows. So when we hit these lows, what we do is we do all this stuff and, meditate and look after ourselves and eat right. And, we go to the gym and we start to really look after ourselves, and then life picks up again, and then we just stop doing that. And then life starts going good, and then life comes back down again. Oh, yeah, shit, that's right, I need to do that stuff. So we start doing that stuff again, and then life picks up, and then we stop again. We stop looking after ourselves and treating ourselves the way we want to be treated. Instead of just continuing to do this, looking after ourselves, putting ourselves first, saying no, setting boundaries, eating healthy, exercising, meditating, do whatever feels right for us, dancing, whatever it is, and continuing to do that, then life still has its ups and downs. But you don't spiral down. You don't have such high highs and such low lows, but you still get to experience joy and bliss and happiness. Does that make sense?
It does. I think that's where I'm at, because I don't get these high highs or really low lows. And I say spiral down, but it's more, it's very different. I'm not as reactive. So I'm definitely like, I'm going within, which is a reaction still, because I'm saying nothing. Saying nothing is still a reaction, because I'm switching off. So I just...
Yeah, and there's a difference between avoidance and actually going in to explore,
Yeah, and being much more quiet and thinking a lot and processing, looking at the blessings. I do have to be more grateful. I do know I have to thank the situation more often.
You don't have to do anything.
Oh, okay. I'll reframe. Yeah,
that makes it hard. Like, oh God, I have to be more grateful. I have to be more happy.
I know, it's like when people say, I'm going to try and do it. I always say to my clients, there's no such thing as try. You're actually doing it.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
just
Try makes it hard. Yeah. Mm.
Thank you.
Same thing. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So
Yeah, so I think it's that going within. It's not avoiding, So it's like you can step back at times and just process but it's how we do that. So 99% of the time we do that with such a negative voice. And there you go again. You've done it again. You've messed up again. You're repeating the same old stuff. You're a failure. So it's all of that. And then of course, I mean, if I raise a child like that, you're an idiot. What did you do that for? You should be ashamed of yourself. And oh my God, how come you haven't done that yet? And what's wrong? I mean, how's that kid going to feel? Whereas if I let that kid know, hey, so I see your intent was amazing here. And, you have such a big heart and you have so much love to give. And I don't care if you might, mess up and make mistakes. I don't care if the whole world turns their back on you. I'll never turn my back on you. I see you and I support you and I want you to have what you want. I mean, that child's going to feel completely different, And we wonder why we feel like shit all the time.
Mm.
So what would it be like to go inside and acknowledge, that little girl, that little Lisa, who's already been through a fucking ton of shit, who's already been through a world of pain, and taken what she wants to take from that and learn some lessons in that and realizing what she doesn't want in life, let alone having somebody else do that to her, but, to not do that to yourself after all of that, especially.
Yeah, I'm now internalizing it. And it's hard to be a podcaster to think of new questions to ask you when I'm thinking about that little Lisa and I'm understanding everything you're saying now at the start about the protection. I'm protecting that little Lisa.
Yeah.
What's coming up for me now, the fight or flight words and feelings are coming up, the thoughts are coming up now. So you were saying before about the protection. How is that different to us using our reptilian brain, our subconscious brain when it comes to those situations?
Well, the truth is it's your reptilian brain that's always in charge, always in control. So your reptilian brain is the oldest part of your brain and it's all about fight, flight, freeze. Yeah. So it's trying to protect the organism. So life and death situation. So fight, flight, or freeze. It'll do whatever it can to get out of there. So when that happens, like you literally get, your pituitary gland sends a message to your organs. Hey, there's danger, send adrenaline, endocrine, send cortisol, prepare the body for danger. So your survival mechanism is activated and it literally, so all of the blood that was being used for rejuvenation, for growth, for healing, for elimination, suddenly gets diverted to the muscles ready for danger. But 99% of the time, there's no danger there. It's just imaginary or associated trauma that we're experiencing or something we've rehashed in our mind from the past, So, I mean, we're literally dying of stress because we have the survival mechanism being activated all the time. But then what happens is when the brainstem reacts to that, your mammalian brain, which is your limbic system, is relating to that, So it feels, it's also about safety, but it's about emotional safety. So, feed me, clothe me, love me, nurture me, make sure I'm emotionally safe. So it's about safety, but it can only feel in relation to what the brainstem reacts to. So it has no language outside of itself. So it can only feel according to the brainstem, whatever it reacts to. So the brainstem is actually the one that's operating everything. But these two parts of your brain are known as your old brain. So, and your old brain contains every single experience that you've ever had within your life. So all of your, let alone every experience, but every sense of that experience. So the sight, smell, sound, taste, touch, the feeling of every experience is stored in your old brain. And think about that for a second, blows my mind. Like how many millions and millions and millions of experiences, and let alone just the experience, but the whole thing, the whole experience is stored there, And they know this because, they can operate on a patient, while the patient's awake, they can operate on their brain because your brain has a neural system, but it doesn't have a nervous system like the rest of the body. So it doesn't feel pain like the rest of the body. So they can poke and prod certain parts of the patient's brain while the patient's awake, and they would have vivid recollections of things they had no conscious recollection of before. And they would describe everything to a T. Similar to hypnosis, they can do this in hypnosis as well. But also sometimes people get triggered. You might have a smell, or you might hear, like the smell of an aftershave, or you might hear the sound of someone's voice, or, or you might see something that triggers us to an experience where you remember everything. And I had one of these every time I smell fresh cut grass, I used to have my own lawn mowing around after school. So it takes me immediately back to I'm standing, behind this lawnmower. I've got my earmuffs on and it's dusty and I can feel the sun beating down on my back. There's an oil stained fence in front of me. So I can feel everything of that experience just from one quick smell, So that's your old brain, contains everything, and it also holds all of the traumas that we have there. And then we have the intellect, which is your, your cerebral cortex, so your human logical mind. And your intellect is also about safety, but it's about, if I can work this out and make sense of this and understand this, then I can soothe the nervous system where all of my traumas lie, and we'll all be okay.
This is my life. This is what I do all the time.
Everybody, yeah.
It's just constant all the time.
It's what everybody does. But I mean, the trouble is they don't communicate, so they have no language outside of themselves. So it's always the brainstem reacting, mammalian brain feeling in relation to whatever that reaction was, because it comes from trauma. And then the intellect is trying to, oh no, it's okay, guys, we can make sense out of this, and they did their best, and I'll make sure that we're okay and that we're safe. But it doesn't do anything, because it doesn't soothe the nervous system, it doesn't soothe their trauma. So you get stuck in this, I know, which is why people get stuck in their head, and their subconscious continues to repeat the same patterns and cycles in their life, because your brainstem's running the show, or your old brain's running the show. So how to override that,
Just to take a step back, we were talking about over the years of the experiences from birth. We have all these experiences that are stored in our memory. So when we smell things, or when we can sense as soon as someone walks in the room, their behavior, it's very familiar. Yeah. How does intuition link in with all that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I mean, the thing with a child is, as adults, we have our cerebral cortex, our human logical mind, so our intellect. And like I said, it's continually trying to work out, I'm okay, I'm safe, they did their best, I know I was loved, I know. But a child doesn't have an intellect. And a child doesn't even develop their intellect until after 8 years of age. And they say up until 8 years of age, or at 8 years of age, 85% of how we think, believe, and know about ourselves, 85% is fully developed by the time we're 8, before we even get our intellect. So between 2 and 7 years of age, a child's in theta brainwave, which means they just equate everything to love. So this is their intuitive stage, So whatever's missing there is a missingness of love. So even something as simple as like dad being away working all the time to provide a better life for me than he had because he loves me, a child goes, where the fuck's my dad? Why doesn't my dad want to be around me? Mum's here all the time. Why is my dad away all the time? And they can't intellectualize, look, he's away at work because he's trying to provide for me. A child just goes, why doesn't my dad love me as much as my mum? Or maybe it's mum, mum's cold and she's not demonstrative like other mums. Why doesn't my mum love me? Because we equate everything to love. A child can't go, well, she's like that because her mum was really hard and didn't show her how to love, and she doesn't like touch, and child doesn't do that. So the intuition, and that, it's all about that we experience love in that stage. And this is where we develop all of our 85% of our idiosyncrasies. And this is why when things don't go our way, we end up spitting the dummy and acting like an 8-year-old or under 8-year-old. Like with this little child, like, whoa! We literally revert back to that.
If we're looking back when I was a toddler and the way I reacted, from what my family have told me, I'd be on the ground having a tantrum. I couldn't get it my way.
I do that as an adult.
And now it's, a little bit different. I'm not on the ground anymore. I'm not kicking and screaming, but I do raise my voice so I can get heard, because, you're not listening. You need to listen.
Yeah.
I type that.
And we revert back to that.
That's the
one thing I've learned is never send an email after, like type it out, no problem, but never send it until the next day. Reread it again the next day and see how it feels. Yeah.
I send it to a girlfriend now. We have this system now where I'll send her even loving ones when I want to be in contact with someone I haven't heard from for a little while. So, and our bond is growing stronger and stronger, and we have a different kind of a friendship compared to all my other friendships, because we're understanding each other.
Beautiful.
On a really
and also you get to realize that we're all going through the same stuff, and we all, when I hear that in somebody else, it makes me feel safe because I experience the same thing. And this is why, I run men's circles. I've been doing them for years because, one of the most amazing things that comes out of men's circles, guys going, oh my God, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one feeling like an idiot, like a failure, like whatever the struggle is. And it normalizes, so we just get to share everything and anything, and it normalizes what we're going through, which is what most people don't do. Yeah.
I love that every time I see a post of a photo of you and the guys out in Ubud in that circle, it makes me want to go to Ubud and be like, can you run with one for women? But like,
I'm doing a mixed circle next week. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. I'll put up the links as well.
Mm.
So later on you can let me know and I'll put them in the actual information, the
Yeah,
details.
nice.
That's why I've created this podcast as well. So I want to be able to share my stories and be real about it to help others understand that you're not the only one going through this, and even Dean's been through it as well. And this is why we're here to help.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what, like, and also how to, like realizing that, I mean, we went through it for a reason as well, so like, I mean, the whole thing is like the universe isn't over here performing this miracle while that abuse or whatever was going on, or that violence was going on. It's like, come on, everything happens for a reason. Find the reason, find the love, find the order in it, and it changes your perspective on everything. So you can either become really resentful and, create groups and, like, and become this left wing, rah, rah, rah about it, or you can actually see it and see what, like, I mean, the fact that I was a junkie and an alcoholic and, it was the most amazing experience of my life, because I mean, I was the most successful time of my life. I was just saying to someone yesterday, I was a successful junkie, like I was so resourceful, determined, motivated, like I was creative, like I would do anything to get that into my system. So, like flipping that around and using that now in my business and to serve people and to help people in a better way is my greatest gifts, But also the fact that I went through that and I went as low and as deep as I went, and to what I would call the lower bottom rungs of society, where I was stealing off everybody I knew and even my own partner and newborn child. That I know how to how to work with somebody who's in that same place. So I know how to. I mean, and without any judgment, or I mean, how could I judge anybody after what I've done and what I've been through? But it's about, I really know how to go there and help these people and show them, like that there's a way out and that there's another way,
And this is your Life Talk business that we're talking about, yeah. So
yeah. So within Life Talk, I have a dictionary program as well. So it contains a whole lot. Yeah.
That's right. And then there's also one of the modalities you use is called quantum shift.
Quantum shift, yeah. So quantum shift is probably, I mean, probably is one of the most amazing things I get to do with people. It's like over 30 years of therapy in one session. It's not therapy, but it's like I've had people say, "Oh my God, my sister's partner came to me and said, like I had a session with me, and she was like, "Oh my God, I've been seeing a counselor, a psychotherapist, for 20 years, every single week, working on this one thing that we just cleared in that session." And it was like, she was like, I mean, one of my biggest advocates in Australia. Because it's like 30 years of clear, we go back and clear up what happened in childhood. And it feels like, because we suppress it all the time, oh, it's nothing, oh, it's not that bad, oh, I'm okay, because we intellectualize everything. It feels like this cup full of dirty water, or this cup, actually a cup with no water, so a missingness, a void, but it becomes this ocean full of dirty water as we grow, as we become adults, because we go searching in drugs and alcohol and love and sex and relationships and everywhere we're trying to, swim through this ocean to fill that little cup again of clear water. And nothing satisfies that, because the truth is there was never any water missing, like just in our experience, how we designed. So the quantum shift goes back and it shifts that, and like I said, in one session, it clears up so much of our past and our trauma and what was missing for us. That's one of the most exciting things I get to do with people. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this through talking with them and asking questions and just helping them see the love?
Yeah, it's just a process. So it's a process of digging and asking like certain questions that I ask, a specific process that I take them through. But it's emotional more than anything else. So, like I know how to dig and, how to allow a person to get them to open up, but I can't make them do it. So if they don't want to, I can't give it to them. I can't throw it at them. I can't make them get it. All I can do is take them through the process best I can. I've been doing it for, I think, nearly 15 years now with thousands of clients. But what I've noticed is the clients who allow themselves to be emotional seem to get it so much easier. But yeah, it's just a process that actually shows them, like we use the head to access the heart and show them that there was something completely different going on that day.
Can you do this via the internet? Yeah, because you're on board. So
I do Skype sessions all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. So I'll get a link from you for that as well. Do you offer, do you have a calendar appointment book people can make times, maybe just to have a quick little chat with you?
I don't do that anymore. I used to do that, but I just got too busy. So I just don't have time for that now. So basically, I have a video which I send people, which we can put in the link in the bottom, and the video explains exactly what it is, what I do. And then if it resonates, people just usually just contact me, make an appointment, and we schedule them in that way.
Yeah, and you've got some books
Yeah.
as well. So one of the books, which is called Shoot Up, that at the moment I'm reading it. I've just started reading bits of it.
Nice.
So tell us a little bit about that book. What inspired you to write it?
Look, I mean, the reason I wrote it was I thought if I could help one person, it's an autobiography basically. So if I could help one person with my journey, you know, like, and to share, just by sharing my story, if one person could get help in any way from that, then I'm, you know, so glad that I wrote the book. And then I've had loads and loads of people, and, you know, like, in the beginning I was writing thinking, oh, who's going to want to listen to me? You know, who wants, it's just my story. Who's interested in that? But I mean, it was the most cathartic thing I've ever done. You know, like, I mean, I cried. I re-edited the book, I don't know, 20 times, and I cried every time I read it. It was so cathartic. And then I couldn't believe the stuff that I got involved in. You know, like some of the stories, and I'm like, damn, like, that's kidnapping. You know, like some of the things that I got involved in that I just didn't think, because it was just me and some friends, you know, collecting debts. And so yeah, it was really amazing experience. So there's a lot of embarrassing things in there, and I was like, you know, every time I'd re-edit it, I'd go, oh, they don't need to know that. And I go, no, they need to know everything, because if I leave that one thing out, and that one thing is the thing that could have helped somebody, then what a waste of time writing the book, you know. So it's a tell all. Yeah, get everything out, and I also understand you're only as sick as your secrets, you know. So like, it's everything, and showing people, you know, what's possible as well. I mean, the shit things that I've done, but also how I turn that around, and how I can help people now, you know. But and help people from a place of not because I'm better than, or that I'm perfect, or, you know, a place of I still struggle and I still mess up, but I know, you know, how to get through that. I know the fastest way through that now, and how to pick myself back up again and keep going. And you know, I think if you're going to climb a mountain, it helps to have somebody who's climbed that mountain before and can show you an easy way up.
And definitely, I always explain to my viewers, my listeners, that it's important for us to have mentors or coaches or someone there to support us along the way that has been through that specialize in that area. And then there's sometimes moments in our life where we've outgrown that mentor, when we need to move to the next level. And very important, because the people that I work with as well, I always from the beginning explain that this is a journey that we're going to go on, and I act more as a facilitator, and explain that there's going to be times where I'm going to have to let go and another person's to come in, because we are always growing and growing. But at the same time too, if us as mentors and coaches are growing and learning, and it's great, we can bring our people with us and keep growing and rising above.
And our demographic might change, and then I mean, like, and that's, you're so right, like having a coach, like a coach sees the whole game. So when you're a player, you're on the field, you can only, you know, you're so caught up in the game, you don't get to see the whole game and the whole game plan. So having somebody outside who can actually, there's, you know, like, we're doing this because of this, you know, so this actually makes that happen, and implement, you know, so it's just having somebody outside with a bigger picture who gets to see, you know, like a much bigger plan and a bigger perspective on where to go. And that's kind of, I guess, mostly what I do.
And what you were saying before, if the person isn't ready to get there, it's okay. I just want to add on to that as well, because we don't like to be told. We don't like to be facing our fears, you know, but, you know, as a mentor, there will be times where we do have to confront those. But if we're not ready, personally, if the person's not ready to do that, it's okay as well. Like, it's okay to do to jump or not to jump. And
absolutely, I mean, one of the things my old Mitch, one of my best mentors, most amazing mentors, Mitchell J. Behan, from MJB seminars. So one of the things he used to say was, you know, like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, but you can make it thirsty. You know, so it's all about how do we make them thirsty. And you're right, it's not about, because as soon as we say to somebody, you got to do this, you got to do that, you know, they feel broken because we're trying to fix them. And then the first thing when people tell us what to do is we tend to want to do the opposite. We get defensive, and, you know, so I understand not everybody's ready to work with me. And I mean, I just had somebody contact me, not last night, the night before, come and spoke to me. I was running a cacao ceremony at the Pyramids of Chi, and she came up and said, oh, you know, like, I actually reached out a year ago, and then you messaged me back and sent me some information, and then I didn't get back to you, so I felt really bad that I didn't get back to you. So I didn't really, you know, I thought, oh, he's going to think I'm a you know, he's going to think I wasted his time. And so she started to run this whole story, and she told me, and I was like, oh my God, thank you so much for sharing that. But, you know, like, I don't, you know, you just weren't ready, and that's okay. When you're ready, you're ready. That's, you know, I have no judgment, and I don't create stories around like I'm blessed that I get to do what I love and love what I do. And I get blessed that I just, I get to work with whoever I get to work with. And it's always perfect,
Yeah. Well,
So, yeah.
With the podcast Yummy Mummy, it's all about how to be a parent, partner, lover. They're wearing the 3 hats while staying true to yourself. And I have noticed that majority of my viewers and listeners are single parents. I'm a single parent. So generally a lot of times when you have a business, you always attract people like yourself. And a lot of questions I do get is I can't get what I want when they're going through separation, for settlement or parenting plan. And I'm going through that at the moment. It's more not what I can't get what I want. What I'm trying to do is satisfy my daughter, satisfy my former husband, but also have to satisfy myself as well. And that's quite tricky in that. So at the start, when we're talking about, limiting beliefs and the cycles I'm going through, and I'm catching myself out now, I would think that the people that are listening now, if they are going through that same process, that they can jump on a call with you, watch your video first and foremost, read your book. Even though you specialize in addictions because of your past, being a junkie and an alcoholic, addictions itself is still the same across the board of having an addictive personality, behavior. In the case of
addicted to comfort zones. Addicted to self-sabotage, addicted to anger, addicted to depression, addicted to not getting our own way. Everyone has an addiction to something.
Exactly. And I feel like myself, when I was thinking about this today in the car driving here, I was like, what am I addicted to? Like, am I addicted to the drama? I got through the drama, Dean, because I work with Mitch as well. That's how we know each other. And I was like, I worked through that by going, just acknowledge you're a drama queen, Lisa, and you actually like drama. So I looked at that, and the drama doesn't come to me, or maybe I'm not feeling it the way I used to. It doesn't bother me, but I definitely feel that there's something there, and I'm going to have to work on that after this podcast. I'll find what it is definitely the self-sabotaging, as you're saying. I could just be addicted to that feeling of wanting to go back to my comfort zone when I'm up for fight or flight and being in that frenzy.
And look, I work with a lot of single mums, and there's another one there which is a very common thing or theme that I experience is that there's still some hurt and some bitterness and some resentment around the breakup, and often, a lot of times, guys can be idiot. Both can be, but a lot of times there's either been some abuse there or some someone's cheated, and so of course there's going to be hurt and pain there. But the trouble is when we what we do is we try and parent from our own pain, and so they'll try and save their children from going through what they went through, and then also they'll try and give their children everything that they never got, and then the kids end up with this this lifestyle of where they'll have so much pain as a result of that, because they don't just get to be themselves. They get this imposed view of life, and often the imposed view contains some of the, without even realizing, we might not be saying it, but it contains some of the resentment and the hurt and this grief that we experience. And so one of the things, in men's circles, is I always tell guys, like, never ever ever bag your ex-partner or the kid's mother to the kids. Never ever do that. And I experienced this so many times, because if the child's with me and I'm bagging their mum, the child's subconsciously thinking, that's my mum you're talking about. And if you're talking about her like that, how do I know you're not going to talk about me like that? Whereas if you always speak of them in the highest light, then your child sees that, and then your child sees what's possible, no matter what they're doing, even if they're the biggest arsehole on the earth, like you speak of them in the highest light. First of all, that shifts your vibration with that person. So, and then whenever you see somebody in their highest light, you're always going to, it'll change the dynamics of that. Whereas if you see them in the worst light, that's what you're always going to get back as well. It multiplies your vibration. What you put out is what you get back, Yeah,
I hear as well from men that I'm dating, even just like the first meet, when we talk about our past relationships, and to start hearing that person say things about their ex-girlfriend, ex-wife, I think, I can't see you again. How do I tell them this? What do I do? Okay, just have my tea and leave, or even I've gone to the second or the third date and it's like it hasn't stopped. They're still going on about it. And I'm like, I don't know if
I'll just call it out.
Say something.
Call it out. I mean, absolutely call it out. Just say, look, this is how, so when I hear you, so this is one of the good things about authentic relating. Yeah. So what I hear you say, or when I hear you say that, I notice this in me. So when I hear you talk about your ex in that way, I notice this resistance comes up in me, or I notice this, this fear come up in me, because I'm thinking, if you talk about her like that, then how are you going to talk about me in the future, or if I become an ex, so it just creates, so it's just being authentic and calling it out and being as real as you can with it. Because I think when we don't name it, we just let it play out, and it spirals, and the truth is, if we don't listen to that and we don't call it out, then it's going to happen.
Well, you'll be happy to know that it was happening, another pattern with every guy, and I just didn't contact them again, and they didn't contact me. So I just thought, okay, they sense that we're not a right match. But it was the last person I dated that I did notice that I did call him out on it.
Nice.
I didn't like the reaction I got. I was like, oh, okay, because he didn't like hearing it. It was the first time articulating it, so I wasn't experienced at knowing how to say. We've spent 20 minutes at this date talking about your past relationship, and it doesn't feel really comfortable because I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you because it's done now. It was 9 years ago. It's finished now, and you're still talking about it. But I asked to hug it out. I'm like, can I get a hug? I need a hug. I need to hug this out.
Nice.
And I since then have spoken to new gentlemen, and there is a shift. I can sense that I've actually attracted a different kind of person, someone that is a lot more enlightened, which is great. But can I just say, so what you were saying about let's speak of our past partners. I'm going to add on our parents and our siblings to our children with love. We also need to talk about ourselves like that as well.
Most importantly, first and foremost, that's where it starts. Because we don't then, and when we don't do this for ourselves, it's easy to start to poke and prod and judge and look at everyone else in those eyes. So when we change those glasses and we look at ourselves first through that, it's easy to see everyone else in different eyes. Through different eyes and through different experience.
Our children are watching us; they can hear us, and it just happened to me recently. And everything happens for a reason. 100%, it happened so that I can talk about it today. I just said, "Oh, I'm so weak," and I can't believe I even said that. And my daughter walked in to the bedroom and just said, "What did I hear?" And I'm like, oh, I said I'm weak. And she's like, no, you're not. Don't you dare say that about yourself. And I'm like, oh, no, you didn't. We have this
oh, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't. You're not telling me. You're not teaching me. We joke around. And then I questioned her and I was like, okay, let's be serious now. How did that make you feel? And she goes, well, when you talk down about yourself, I feel like you're talking down to me, that I'm weak because I'm a part of you. She was explaining, she goes, I am you, I've come from you. So if you think you're weak, then you think I'm weak, or then I am weak. And I was just like, oh my goodness, thank you. So I sat with her and I explained to her why I said that, and that I'm not weak, not at all. But in this moment of my life, I am strong in my vulnerability. And I looked at that as being, I called it weak. But that's not exactly what I meant. And like you said, she picked up on that being 8 years old. She's not understanding the rest.
Yeah. And your kids they won't do what you say. They do what you do. So you can tell them to put themselves first and to be this and to be that, and and to stick up for themselves, and you can do that. But when you don't do it for yourself, they're not going to hear that. So it's like me, drinking a can of booze and saying to my kid, "Don't ever do this." Smoking a cigarette. Yeah, don't do this, son. It's really bad for you. The kid's going to go, "Fuck, first chance I get, I'm doing that." You know what I mean? Because it's like they don't do what we say; they want to do what we do. So when you lead by example, you put yourself first, you acknowledge yourself, you look in front of the mirror and you say how amazing you are, I'm incredible, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I'm sexy, every day. Then of course they're going to fucking repeat that. They're going to see that and value that. And it's not being cocky, but even if it is, be cocky, who cares? I'd rather you be cocky and love yourself than the opposite.
Because
it doesn't come from a place of cockiness,
Yeah, because if we don't do it, this is where I'm starting to understand my daughter now more so. She's doing it for me. Like I came out of the shower this morning and she said, when you're ready, come out. I want to see how pretty you look. I'm like, sure. And I I'm like, she's doing what I need to do for myself. I need to, when I'm ready, look at myself in the mirror and go, damn girl, you're
yeah.
So
But then what she learns from that is that she needs somebody else to do it for her. Not that she can do it for herself.
Yes, that's right. So I'm also now in my mind thinking what we suppress, what we suppress, our children they're going to express it, right? When we're suppressing it, our children express it. But also what I'm thinking in my mind is, that saying of, if we don't live out our dreams or our goals, our children will do it. And that's something that
live out our unfulfilled wishes and desires, but also positively and negatively.
That's what I'm trying to say here, exactly. Because when I speak to my clients, my viewers, or my friends, I always talk about that, with their kids, saying, make sure that you're doing it for you, because your kids are going to do it, good or bad. They're going to do it if you're not doing it for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we need to work.
So that's why it's so important that we have our shit together as much as possible. That we're working on ourselves, and not from a place of I'm not good enough, or you need to fix yourself, you're broken, but from a place of I love myself enough to see how much love that I am. To see how fucking amazing that this hologram, this thing that I'm creating is. How beautiful, and how this pure potentiality that I am is capable of so much more. Not because I'm not good enough, but because I am. So it's seeing, reversing that and seeing how much of my world and my life gets affected and affects other people around me when I see it from that place, when I'm exuding love for myself. So it's like that, filling our own love bucket, like if we're always looking for love outside of ourselves and, we're always seeking that love, then that bucket's continually emptying out all the time, whereas if I stand myself up, fill that bucket till it overflows, then people experience this real, genuine, authentic love, it just flows out into the world. And it's authentic. We're not trying to give from an empty bucket.
That's right. So to wrap it up for our podcast today, I'd love for you to give one piece of advice, or maybe a little task to do after listening to this or viewing this on YouTube, to leave with the viewers and listeners.
I would say, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you I have a template that I made. It's called your love list. Yeah. So I'll send you this template, and what it is you add to this love list, like everything that you say. I mean, you add all these beautiful things about yourself. So what do you bring to the table in each area of your life? So physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, socially, relationships, sexually. What do I bring to the table? But instead of just writing words out on the page, what you have to do is you write the word out, but you have to go back to a time in your life where you actually displayed that, So, okay, sexually, I'm gentle and, and I'm considerate. Okay, so go to a time when I remember this time with this girl where I was really gentle and considerate, and I really put her needs first, and I made sure she was safe. And so I've grounded that word in experience. And then I can also come up with a whole heap of other words, well as also kind and soft and all of that, So what I'm doing is I'm grounding these words into experience. So rather than just being empty words on a page, I now know there's something for it to resonate within my life where I've experienced, it's been experiential. Yeah. So when people say that about me next time, instead of going, oh no, I'm not really, there's something for it to resonate with. Yeah, I'm absolutely confident. I'm absolutely hardworking. I'm absolutely dedicated, gentle, whatever it is, So I mean, this is one of the best things I think I got to do, and then I add to that every single day. And then this love list and this way I see myself, because normally, I mean, I remember a time when somebody said to me, tell me 5 things you love about yourself. And I was like, I don't know. I'm kind, I guess, and I couldn't come up with this. Now I could come up with like 100 things off the top of my hat, like just so easily. So I think it really starts to add to that. And then, like I said, there's something for it to resonate with when somebody compliments you.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much for offering that to everyone. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to put up some photos too after I've done it to show
absolutely
you I'm not going to stop growing. I'm going to keep learning, and that's, I'm committed, because I know you're committed to it as well, doing the work and helping others, and so am I. And we're really good role models for those that want to step it up and break their cycle.
And break those addictions. And I'll just say really quickly as well, like I have 2 online programs. One's an addiction program. So it's a 16-week online program for anybody struggling with any addiction. I don't focus on whether it's drugs, alcohol, sugar, food, like depression, whatever. It's not about that. It's about what the core that we're missing. So what's underneath that, how we got there, how to turn that around. So I have that program, and then also a 12-week online program for anybody who's looking after somebody with an addiction. So parents or siblings or partners, because generally what we tend to do is we push them further into the addiction without realizing. What we do out of love enables that, you know, so it's how not to do that. So if anybody wants any help around that, they can send me a message and I'll send them the links for that too.
I love that. I definitely resonate with being a carer, supporter of others. And I think that's lovely that you've done that, Dean. Thank you so much for creating those 2 programs for both sides of that addiction. Thank you so much.
And who better to know both sides than somebody who's been through it. I know both sides very well. Yeah,
awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about, before we go, what's the weather like there? Is it nice and humid?
It's kind of cloudy at the moment. The volcano's been puffing a bit of smoke. It doesn't, I mean, it's not affecting us in any way. Sometimes there's a bit of ash in the air, but it just seems to be very cloudy. So still warm and sunny. A lot of clouds, but it's beautiful. I mean, I love it here. It flows so nicely and easily, and
And do you run retreats as well in Ubud for people to fly over?
Look, I do. I've done a couple of personalized things. I have a 10-day retreat that I'm gonna. I haven't marketed yet, but like it's a full packed 10-day. I won't call it an addiction retreat because nobody would come. But it's like a detox cleanse. You know how to. I mean, I never ever, even when I was a full-blown junkie, I never identified with myself as being an addict, you know, and nobody really does. So it'll be like a detox cleanse, you know, get your life together and get you into the space that you really want to be in your life. And so I'll let you know more about that when that comes
Excellent. When it comes up, yes, please let me know, and then we'll get you back on and we'll just do another podcast.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you, Dean.
All right, darling, really nice to talk to you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. I don't want to hang up.
Send you those links.
I don't want to hang up yet. Let's just do the ending. Let's just do the ending like as if we're going to hang up.
Yeah.
And then we'll stay and then we'll talk a little bit.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Dean, for jumping on board today and doing this podcast with me and holding space as well as I was trying to articulate everything to help others understand that they're not alone. And I appreciate taking the time out also for creating this podcast.
Yeah, thank you, darling. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for sharing as well, like from your own experience. I think that's the most. I think teaching that, you know, like teaching by leading and sharing is the best way, you know. Not I've got all my shit together, but actually experiential. People get it in the moment. Oh my God, I can so relate to that, and being open, you know, like and actually transparent. I think is the most healing thing we can do for people. Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome.